Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sedgwick County Board of County Commission meeting. Welcome to those joining online, Facebook, and YouTube, and everyone joining us in person. We're glad you're here today. When you walk in, we always encourage you to grab a meeting agenda that allows you to follow along with the items we're discussing at the County Commission meeting today. If you're ever curious about the supporting documents, you have access. You can go ahead and look those up at www.sedgwickcounty.org. Now let's get to work and call the meeting to order for February 11th, 2026. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be led by Pastor David Lemonnier, Epic Church. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for having me. Would you pray with me? Father, I want to lift before you the members of the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners and the responsibilities that they carry for all of us. But my first request for you is for them, that you would grant them the health and the clarity of mind and steadiness of heart as they steward the resources and the safety and the well-being of the people they serve. I pray that you would establish their leadership in both integrity and in fairness, as they oversee the public safety and the public health and the many services that quietly sustain daily life in this community. I pray you would bless their families, their spouses and their children, their grandchildren, the loved ones who support them. I pray you would give their homes peace and strength and encouragement. There are many burdens they set aside to serve here. They may not be seen here, but I know they are seen by you. Strengthen those who serve throughout this county, every public servant whose labor often goes unseen. May they serve with courage and faithfulness, and may you grant this board wise counsel, respectful deliberation, and unity in pursuing what is good and just for families, for businesses, for the vulnerable, and for the future generations that will be shaped by a meeting like this. Let there be peace in this county, peace in our neighborhoods, integrity in our institutions, safety in our streets, and an opportunity for all who call this place home. Guide the commission in their work today, and may their decisions reflect wisdom, humility, and service. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Chairman Blueball.
Present. Next item, please.
County announcements.
Nicole, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Nicole Gibbs of Strategic Communications. We're going to start today with County Good News. Recently, our finance team was again recognized by the Government Finance Officers Association, which is the industry association that establishes best practices, for their continued great work. The accounting department, led by Hope Hernandez, received the 2023 Award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting for the county's year in review. They were also awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, which is the document that presents audited financials. And then the Budget Department, led by Lorian Showalter-Airy, was awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 2026 Budget Book, with special recognition for the long-range financial forecast section of the book. Finance has been receiving awards like this from the GFOA for quite a long time. I'd like to call out the fact that this round marks 19 years for receiving what we call the PAFR, which is the Popular Annual Financial Report, 44 years for the Financial Reporting Award, and 43 years for the Budget Award. So congratulations to Finance, and thank you again for all your work. We do appreciate it. My personal favorite about Finance is they like to have a matching color, and it looks like most of you got the blue memo today, so good job. Next up, Advanced by mail ballots will begin going out today for the residents who requested them for the 2026 Wichita special election. Eligible voters may request an advance by mail ballot by filling out an application and returning it to the election office by Tuesday, February 24th. New this year, all advance by mail ballots must be received by the election office by 7 p.m. on Election Day, March 3rd, so plan accordingly and don't wait until the last minute. Last but not least, Sedgwick County offices will be closed Monday, February 16th in observance of President's Day. As always, emergency services will be available by calling or texting 911. And that is all I have for today. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions?
Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Public agenda.
Public agenda. We have one person signed up for the public agenda, but I believe you, Deborah Evans, I believe you want to speak on the zoning case. Is that correct? On the zoning case that's coming up later this morning?
On the PUD.
Yeah, on the PUD. Yep. So, okay. So if that's all right with you, we'll just wait until we open the public hearing for that and you can speak then?
I'm sorry, I forgot my hearing aids today. We'll have to really speak up.
We'll just wait and have you speak whenever we hear the zoning case?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so no one else on the public agenda? Madam Clerk, next item.
Consideration of minutes.
Okay.
Item A, regular meeting minutes of January 21st, 2026.
You've all read the meeting minutes from January 21st, 2026. Do you have any questions about the minutes? If not, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiss.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Proclamations. Item B, proclamation declaring United Way 211 Day.
All right. We have one proclamation I'd like to read here. Whereas since 1954, the United Way of the Plains has operated a local information and referral service in Sedgwick County known as InfoLine, assisting thousands of individuals each year, and in February 2006 introduced 211 service, which in 2026 celebrates 20 years of serving Kansans. And whereas United's Way 211 information and referral service complements 911 in emergencies and 988 for mental health support, helping ensure Kansas receive holistic care and access to essential services when they need them most. And whereas in 2024 alone, Kansans were connected to needed resources for 153,001 times through United Way 211 via calls, text, online chats, and website searches, demonstrating the vital role this service plays in supporting individuals and families in crisis. And whereas the most requested needs in 2024 included assistance with utilities, tax filing, rent, food pantries, and homeless shelters, highlighting the ongoing and critical needs within our community and the importance of accessible resource navigation. And whereas residents seeking assistance can access this service by dialing 211, texting 898-211, or visiting 211kansas.org, ensuring help is available through multiple convenient channels. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Chairman Jeff Blueball, and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do by proclaim February 11th, 2026 as United 211 Day in Sedgwick County, and encourage all to recognize the impact of United Way 211 and utilize the support this vital service connects community members to help and essential resources. That's the proclamation. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to adopt the proclamation as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiss.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Yep. And Pete Najera, President and CEO, United Way of the Plains, will be here speaking on the proclamation this morning. Good morning.
Pete.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners, for proclaiming February 11th, 211 as 211 Day here in Sedgwick County, and for standing with United Way of the Plains in supporting our neighbors. As you heard in the proclamation, United Way's 211 information referral system is free, it's confidential, and it allows anybody who needs help with social services to call 24/7. With me today is Michelle Grimm, the director of our 211 information and referral system, and she's the leader of a team of very strong resource navigators who are behind the scenes making good things happen. These navigators don't just point people in the right direction, they help bring hope and stability so families stay on their feet during very difficult moments. I find it timely that this proclamation just comes weeks before our city's special election here in Wichita on March 3rd, where our community will decide on whether we should create a new revenue stream to support homelessness and affordable housing. Last year, I can tell you the top 4 reasons people living here in Sedgwick County called the 211 line for help. Number 1, access to a homeless shelter. Number 2, help with rent to prevent eviction. Number 3, utility assistance. And number 4, help with food pantry. And our county neighbors called 30,000 times. Wow. 211 complements 911 and 988, as you heard, providing a communications digital safety net that helps guide people to the appropriate level of care and ensure emergency responders and mental health crisis services remain available for those who need it most, so that our navigators can take care of social services and free them up to do life-saving work. This day is a reminder that awareness saves time, reduces crisis, and changes lives. And we encourage everyone in Sedgwick County to remember this number, share it with a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, and use it for anyone when life feels overwhelming. As 211 marks its 20th anniversary, having served more than 1.7 million connections across our state, this proclamation reinforces the county's commitment to making sure no one has to face tough moments alone. So, on behalf of the United Way of the Plains and the 800,000 people we serve, we want to thank you for helping keep Sedgwick County strong, informed, and connected. And together, let's make sure every neighbor knows help is just 3 digits away. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Those are some huge numbers. Commissioner Beatty?
Yeah. Hey, Pete, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Abel, so good to see you. Appreciate you. Obviously, 211 and some of the things that are happening around this network and all the activity that you do to provide services, it meets a lot of gaps, and you're the connector in so many different ways. Can you talk about, I've read that there might be some federal opportunities, federal legislation, even state legislation to really help empower 211. I think most people now know, not everyone knows who 911 is. Many people know what 988 is. I learned that 211 many times is still, there's a lack of awareness. Are there efforts federally or at the state level to help raise awareness?
There is. Senator Moran every year sponsors a bipartisan bill to try and get 211 funded across the country. We know 911 and 988 are already federally funded, maybe locally funded, and so United Ways across the country work hard to raise private philanthropy to keep this service going. And I know in some places they've had to close down. Any United Way is only as strong as the community that supports it, and so we're very grateful for everybody that donates to our cause so that we can serve people this way and it doesn't become an even more expensive burden on other services if these families fall into homelessness.
I appreciate that update, Pete. I'd be amiss not to give you the opportunity. We're talking about 211 today, and it is catchy. Commissioner Meitzer and I acknowledge February 11, 211. It's very catchy.
The rest of them got it, I think.
But what all does the United Way do here? The United Way of the Plains. I mean, obviously 211 is a big part of what you do, but the United Way does a lot more than just 211. Would you be able to share publicly a little bit of all you guys do?
Sure. I mean, do we have, I don't know how much time we have, but to try and summarize some of the unique things of this 211 in Sedgwick County is we have 13 direct services that we provide citizens around the clock. We're mainly known for the grants that we also can make to support the nonprofit ecosystem. We fund about 70 different nonprofits at the tune of $4 to $5 million every year, but we spend a lot of our money in those 13 direct services. Some things maybe people don't know. We provide college scholarships to high school kids based on volunteer service, not GPA. And so we're fostering that commitment of selfless service younger in lives and not when they're much older in that regard. We run a nationally award-winning Give Warehouse where we receive new goods from places like Walmart or Amazon or from corporate donors that we're able to repurpose and for free, where 300 nonprofits shopped at the warehouse, and they received over $4 million in free goods that lowered their overhead budget to shore up what they were doing. And so it costs us about $300,000 to run it, but it's a $1 to $10 return, and it's winning national recognition as a model that should be replicated across the country. And so those are a few things that we do here in Sedgwick County. But again, we're only as strong as the community that supports us, and we're very grateful for your leadership in supporting our work.
Very impressive. Appreciate you guys so much. Congratulations on this proclamation.
All right. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? If not, we'd like to take a 5-minute recess. If you guys mind, go out front. We'll take a picture. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Appointments.
Yes, Chairman Justin Wagner, County Councilor. I'm on these appointments. There's a number of items. I'm going to take up the first two items kind of as a chunk and then take up the rest of them later. The reason being that the first two items both involve township position resignations. The idea being to create the vacancies for those where subsequently you'll be appointing them. But we'll get a little more serious on that because there's a statute that guides you on that. So we want to be really careful about making sure we clearly have a vacancy before we appoint someone. So item C is to accept the resignation of Joseph Younger from the Sedgwick County Erie Township trustee position. Item D is to accept the resignation of Scott Ayers from the Sedgwick County Erie Township clerk position. Recommended action could be taken in a single motion on items C and D to just take the recommended action.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments on these appointments? If not, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve items C and D.
Second.
Motion to second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Do we have any of the appointees here?
And Chairman,
You want to make all the appointments
yeah,
first?
I'll go ahead and do
Okay.
that real quick if it's
Sure.
good. Item E is a resolution appointing Jed Tennyson to the Sedgwick County Erie Township clerk position as recommended by Commissioner Wise. That was one of the vacancies that just came up. Item F is the other vacancy, which would be a resolution appointing Scott Ayers to the Erie Township trustee position, also for that same township. And you just accepted his resignation on item D. Item G would be a resolution reappointing Dr. Michael Berzer to the Sedgwick County Corrections Advisory Board in the at-large education position. Item H would be a resolution appointing Etziri Campos to the Sedgwick County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board in an at-large position as recommended by Department of Corrections Director Steve Stonehouse. Item I is a resolution appointing Alexa Ilk to the Sedgwick County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board in an at-large position, again, as recommended by Steve Stonehouse. And then item J is a resolution appointing Chairman Bluebow to the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, or WAMPO. You could just simply take all of those items, it'd be items E through J. You could have a motion to take the recommended action, and that would accomplish all of those items, Chairman.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve items E through J. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Just a comment real quick. A lot of movement in District 3 Township. The Erie Township, we have Scott and Jed stepping up to serve their township. I understand that it was a vacancy caused by moving outside of the township, correct? So you guys stepping up and serving your township, I want to show my gratefulness for you. I know it's a thankless job sometimes, but thanks for stepping up for the challenge, and I appreciate you guys being here today.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve on WAMPO. It's probably been a decade since I've served on it, so looking forward to doing that again. So I've made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0.
These two gentlemen first.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Newly appointed clerk here. Jed, I'll start with you. Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Erie Township Clerk, so help me God. I do. Congratulations. What's that? If you'd like to state anything, you can.
Oh, no, I'm good.
That way, sign that real quick. And then I'll take Scott. All right. Okay. I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Erie Township Trustee, so help me God. I do. Congratulations. Thank you. If you'd like to state anything, go ahead.
I'd just like to say appreciate the county commissioners supporting the townships of Sedgwick County. And sometimes it is a thankless job, and we just need the county support like we have in the past. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, ladies. All right, raise your right hands. I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board. So help me God. Okay. I'd like to state anything and sign your name.
Mr. Beatty?
I just want to thank you, too, for your willingness to serve in these at-large positions on the Juvenile Corrections Board. There is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of movement. We have some projects that we're working on, particularly at JRF, and a big remodel that's going on there. There's a hopefulness that we can really engage the community and some of the nonprofit community advocacy groups that are working in our community now. And we've got those challenges, the overlap that impacts our foster care system. There's just a lot going on in the juvenile world, the entire ecosystem. So your willingness to serve on this board and to be at the table to help shape some of this direction, shape some of this policy, I'm just really grateful. This is a big task. It's a really big task. It's an important task. These kids are our future. So your work in this, I just want you to know how grateful we are that you're willing to serve in that capacity. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
New business. Item K, PUD 2025-0027, zone change request in the county from SF20 Single Family Residential District to PUD Planned Unit Development to create Harry Crossing PUD number 154 for future residential and or commercial development generally located on the southeast corner of East Harry Street and South 143rd Street East.
Okay. Scott Wadle, good morning. Do you mind if I ask commissioners if we've had any ex parte communications before we get into the case? Mr. Meister?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have not had any ex parte communication that I recall and remain open.
Thank you, Chairman. I've had no ex parte communication. I remain open-minded based on the facts of this case.
And I've had no ex parte communication either.
I have not had any ex parte communication.
I have had a number of people reach out to me at both coffees, on the phone, email, and in my office to talk about this case. I think I've heard from both proponents and opponents, but as always, I have no opinion coming into this hearing today. I'm here to see what is presented, and I'll make my decision based on what's in the record as well as what's presented during the hearing today. Thank you.
Morning, Scott.
Good morning. So Scott Wadle from the Planning Department here to present this item. So for this one, the applicant is requesting to rezone the property from SF20 single family to planned unit development, which is a custom zoning. This item is being heard today because protests have been received against the application and also because there were public comments received against the application at the MAPC hearing. In terms of the request, the applicant has indicated they're requesting the zone change in order to position the property for future development, which the applicant has indicated may include commercial and or residential mix. So it doesn't sound like they're certain on what they want to develop the property as, but they're requesting the rezoning in order to position it for future development. The applicant chose to pursue a PUD, again, custom zoning, as opposed to a zone change to LC, limited commercial, and which would also require a community unit plan, CUP, to be placed on top of it. And the Unified Zoning Code, it requires commercially zoned properties that are 6 acres or more to be in a CUP, and it provides a PUD as an alternative. So that's kind of the background about where the PUD came from. In terms of the property, as you can see here, the site is located at the southeast corner of Harry and 143rd Street. It is made up of one ownership parcel. It's just over 26 acres in size. It is currently developed with a house, with the remainder of the land in agricultural use. It is not platted, and it is in the Wichita urban growth area and recommended for residential and employment mix in the comprehensive plan. And I'll show you some maps that illustrate that in a bit. In terms of uses in the surrounding area, properties to the north are in the city of Wichita, and that on this graphic you can see the pink / kind of purplish line. That is the city limits for the city of Wichita. So the properties to the north are in the city of Wichita and zoned LC and SF5. The SF5 properties are in white. The LC properties are in that red color. The LC property is approximately 1 acre in size and is undeveloped. The SF5 properties are a platted reserve with landscaping and a church. But if you go further than that, you'll see that there are a number of SF5 properties that are developed as single-family homes. To the east are 2 properties. One is in the city of Wichita, zoned SF5 and developed with a church. And one is in Sedgwick County, zoned SF20, and is owned by the church directly to the north and is in use as a recreational field. It looks like they have a ball field on there. Property to the south is in the unincorporated county, zoned SF20 and developed with large lot single-family residences. Property to the west are in the city of Wichita, zoned SF5 and LC, and are undeveloped. Properties to the northwest across the intersection are zoned SF5 and developed with single-family dwellings. In terms of the staff report, the staff report provides information about development standards, screening and landscaping, signage, parking, and circulation. In addition, attached with the staff report is the text for the custom zoning district. In terms of review, on December 18th, the Planning Commission, MAPC, held the public hearing for this item. The MAPC recommended approval of the request, and the vote was 10-0 with 1 abstention. 6 members of the public spoke at that hearing in opposition to the request. And in addition, prior to the MAPC meeting, staff received written public comment in opposition to this application. Those comments are attached to the staff report. And overall, the general concerns expressed were related to the general nature of the plan without specific uses in mind, the intensity of commercial uses near the established residential neighborhoods, possible decrease in home values, and safety concerns. Now, about the protest, the standard protest area for applications in the unincorporated county is 1,000 feet around the subject site. However, state statute states that if within 1,000-foot radius, the protest area intersects city limits, the protest area then only projects 200 feet into the city. And that is state statute, 1,000 feet in the unincorporated county, 200 feet in the city. So you'll see the protest area. It's a little unusual in terms of the configuration because the adjacency of the city of Wichita. In terms of protests, property owners submitted 37 protests against the application. Of those, 4 were in the protest area and constituted 2% of the protest area. So it does not exceed the state threshold of 20%. Therefore, the zone change request can be approved by a simple majority or 3 of 5 votes. In terms of alternatives, you can override the MAPC recommendation, make alternative findings, and deny the application. That would require a 2/3 majority because it's an override of the Planning Commission, so 4 out of 5 votes. Or as always, you can return the case to the MAPC for further consideration, and that would require 3 of 5 votes, just a simple majority. Overall, the recommended action coming to you from the Planning Commission is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the zone change request, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published. And again, just requires a simple majority or 3 out of 5 votes. So with that, I'll take you through some of the graphics. So here's the aerial that was described. Here's the zoning map that was described as well. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan, again showing residential and employment mix was recommended for this area. Here's the urban growth areas map. Here's the urban area of influence. And again, it's not in an urban area of influence because the county and the city share the Planning Commission. And then here's the protest map, and notification area. The notification area is shown in the purple line. The protest area is shown in the green line. And again, it goes 1,000 feet in the unincorporated county, 200 feet in the city of Wichita. The protests that were submitted and were counted towards the protest area calculation are in red. Others that were submitted but were outside of that area are shown in blue. And then there was a yellow one, which means it was invalid because it was missing a signature, or maybe it arrived late. There's a variety of reasons that could cause that. Here's the graphic that was submitted, the site plan that was submitted as part of the PUD. And then here are photos of the site. So this is a single-family home that's developed on the site. Property to the south, looking a little bit further south on the property, across the street. looking to the north, northwest. And this is the church that is immediately to the east. This is looking south into the property, the subject site. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Beatty?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Scott, appreciate the presentation. I have two questions. The first is the supporting documents, the packet contained a letter from a law firm. Was this law firm attained on behalf of the Homeowners Association in opposition?
That is my understanding. I'll defer to others if they've got a better understanding, but that is my understanding based on the letter.
So the Homeowners Association, this is surrounding, which Homeowners Association are we talking about here on the residential piece here?
I am not certain, sir. I believe we had folks from the north. Looks like we have a member of the public who would like to speak on that, but I believe we've got the HOA to the north and we've got the one to the east.
Is that the same addition, do we know? Is that, what I'm really curious about is you only had a few protests. Is that because of just the geography? It didn't register enough protests to even get us into a supermajority, but yet the Homeowners Association apparently hired a lawyer. I'm trying to understand why the threshold didn't arrive.
Sure.
What's it?
It really has to do with the outline of the protest area.
Okay.
So we'll go back to this map. So you'll notice that a number of the protests were in the residential areas, so likely where the HOAs are located. But the boundary of the protest area did not extend there because it only extends 200 feet in the city of Wichita. So therefore, the majority of the properties that actually make up the protest area calculation are located in the unincorporated county to the south, and they did not protest.
I see. That makes sense now. Okay. My last question, does the conditions in the PUD, does it take into account residential setbacks? I don't know if I saw that information in the material.
Sure. I'm going to flip to that page real quick just to make sure I can quote correctly on that one. Okay, so in the packet, in the attachments, there's MAPC. There's an item titled MAPC Recommended PUD Text, and so screening, signage, lighting, compatibility. There are compatibility setbacks and height standards that would be in there and are listed in there, and those are per the zoning code, so it's just the usual ones that would apply in this instance. There's also a front setback for non-residential uses that is specifically called out under bulk regulations.
Okay.
And that is 20 feet. Front setback for residential uses is likewise 20 feet. The rear setback for non-residential uses would be 0 feet. But if it is provided, shall be at least 5 feet in width. A rear setback for residential uses is 20 feet. Interior side setback for non-residential uses is 0 feet, but if it is provided, shall be at least 5 feet. Interior side setback for residential uses is the same, and street side setbacks for non-residential uses is 10 feet. For residential uses, that same one would be 15 feet. And then a maximum building height is 60 feet, which is listed in that area.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. A couple of questions. So under LC, can you help me understand what type of things could go in here that would be under LC? Is there a list of those?
Yes, sir. So first off, there are a number of things that would normally be allowed in LC that are not permitted by the language that's included in the PUD. And I'm going to look that up real quick. So
is that on page 46?
It is under the same MAPC recommended PUD number 154 heading. So under there's a number of things that are excluded: recycling centers, marine facility, recreational, sexually oriented business. But then there are a number of uses that are permitted, and I'm going to grab my copy of the zoning code so I can get those for you. Okay, so there are major categories of uses. I'm assuming that we can go through the residential ones first. So in LC, it permits single family, duplexes, multifamily as well. assisted living, group home, group residence general. So it allows almost all of the residential defined land uses. I'm going to skip over to commercial. And in commercial, it allows animal care, limited in general. Well, I take that back. Limited is permitted by right. General requires conditional use. It allows ATM, financial institution, bed and breakfast, broadcast studio, construction sales, farmers markets, funeral home, hotel, motel, medical services, commercial parking, pawn shops, personal care services, so that's like a hair salon or maybe like a nail salon, printing and copying, recreation, restaurant, general retail, and a host of other items, secondhand store, service station. Okay, that's not quite all of them, but I think that's a good example.
Couple of, just reading this, I thank you. I got the printout of this not too long ago, and as I'm reading this, it looks like, for example, a concrete plant, an asphalt or concrete plant would be allowed on third page of the list there.
Yes, sir. So I've read the ones under residential and commercial. Under the industrial section, yes, that's correct, sir. Asphalt or concrete plant limited. And I would have to, if it's limited, it generally means that there are some restrictions on that, and I'll have to look up the definition of what that is.
So right now, as it sits today, this is an LC that is essentially, as the book defines it, with no exceptions, no restrictions outside what's normally an LC.
There are a few that additional restrictions that are placed on them. They're the ones that I read very early on. But it's only a handful of those.
Right, and I saw that list there. Okay, so I have, I guess, I'll probably go through the hearing and hear everyone else's concerns if there are any, but I guess I have a couple of questions about some of these things, and just kind of knowing the area. Some of these things I just have a few questions about, so we'll get to that in a few minutes. That's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Okay. If I could, sir, I'd like to follow up real quick with asphalt or concrete plant limited means a temporary establishment involved in those. Okay. So maybe like a construction project is taking place for a temporary period.
I guess I have two more questions real quickly. In terms of height restrictions, what's the height restriction for, I mean, could they put a multi-level apartment building in here? And if so, how high could that go? Is there a list there? How high was the height limitation?
Yes, sir. It is 60 feet.
60 feet. That's probably like a 4-story apartment building potentially.
I would say that's a good estimate, maybe even 5, depending on
even 5. Now, of course, in the unincorporated, this is still unincorporated. There's not really services for something like that to happen. It'd have to be brought into the city, and utilities would have to be available, and there would have to be a different, again, zoning would be taken care of at that point because the PUD covers it already. But they would have other requirements in terms of things like platting and that type of thing if that was to happen.
Yes, sir. Platting will have to happen regardless of whether it's in the city or the county. But in terms of fully developing the property, yes, sir, they would have to have municipal services in terms of how they're going to handle the sewage and the water.
So unless this is brought into the city, what type of housing could we see there potentially? Could we do SF3, SF5, SF20? What's our?
This would allow you to have multifamily apartments, but again, they would have to come up with a way that they could treat the sewage, handle the water service. That's going to restrict potentially the geography or the size of the property that they can use for the apartments.
All right, that's all my questions for now. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners? If not, I'd like to open the public hearing. You have 5 minutes, please. Oh, go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Yes, sir. I did want to point out, I forgot to do this at the end, is that the agent for the applicant is present today.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to go ahead and open up the public hearing. You'll have 5 minutes to state your name and address. And first, I'd like to ask the applicant's agent. Good morning.
Good morning, Kim Edgington, PSC Consulting Agent representing the applicant on this case. I want to first thank staff. We have worked through this process to come up with a plan that places quite a few restrictions on this property. There are additional restrictions beyond the other properties that are adjacent to here that do allow limited commercial. So while this area has been residential in character in the past, it is squarely in the path of increasing development that is recognized as appropriate in the Community Investments Future Growth Concept Map. That is a plan that's been approved by both the MAPC and your board. So we know that the development is coming here. There is a firm $25 million budgeted for improvements at this intersection and the roads that emanate from this intersection. So this is a clear and present recognition by planners that growth is accelerating in this area. We don't anticipate any development happening until after those improvements have been made, which could be up to 5 years from now. But in transparency, it makes sense to have this property zoned and ready for future development so that everyone in the area is well aware of what the plans are. Staff report acknowledges that there are conditions placed on this, that there are additional restrictions. We did incorporate all of the recommendations that staff had regarding screening, setbacks, landscaping. There are additional compatibility height standards on this property that would require additional setbacks when adjacent to residential. So all of those things provide safeguards for the development of this property. And in fact, the Community Investments Plan recognizes that this is appropriate for future commercial development. The current use as single-family and agricultural land is clearly not the highest and best use for this property. There are municipal services available already in this area for water and sewer. So the highest and best use in terms of this property for the community benefit and the growth in this rapidly developing area is going to be much higher than what is currently zoned. And that's why we have this request that we've worked with staff to come up with a PUD that places these kind of restrictions on the property that will incorporate it into the community. Regarding the number, the interesting protest area on this. Even if all of those protests were valid and within the area, it would still not constitute 20% of the area that would, trigger the supermajority. So we understand that there are concerns from longstanding neighbors, and we've done our very best to address that by working with staff and incorporating those conditions into the PUD. And I would be glad to stand for any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? If you would please just state your name and address.
My name is Deborah Evans, Precinct 251 Committee Woman, Republican. I live right on the edge of that property. My vote didn't count because I'm in the blue area. I want to know how you come up with the area. Is it a physical square footage? So the church counts for most of it? And so it doesn't matter how many of the neighbors say, no, we don't want this. If the church doesn't care, basically, and the property in question, does that count too? So their vote counts more than ours? So I would like to know, okay, so somebody said, well, maybe we need some shopping in that area. Well, there's no guarantee it would be shopping that came there. It could be the loft apartments that they have in Andover. It could be halfway houses, drug treatment facilities. How about an oil refinery? Could they put that in there? Is there anything stopping them? A meat packing plant? Anything stopping that? I am very, very, very upset with this. It's like the people don't matter. The guy that owns the property is some attorney in New Jersey. He doesn't care. He just wants to get as much money out of it as he can. So you make it a PUD, he can get more money. Does that mean you guys get more tax money too, rather than putting houses in there? Why not just put houses in there? We wouldn't mind that. We'll say now, who votes for this? Who cares about the people and who does not? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justin, could you help clarify some of the questions that you have there?
Certainly happy to do so. Chairman Justin Wagner, County Councilor. In regard to some of the comments on the notice area, and I think really it's the protest petition area is probably more specifically the question. In KSA 12757F is the portion of that statute that deals with how that's calculated. One point I'd point out is I think there was a question about if the property that's being rezoned counts in that calculation. If it's the property that's actually subject to the rezoning, that is not part of the area. That's specifically indicated within the statute. It's the area around it within the area that's subject to, that has the qualifications, and it does say that it's the owners of record of 20% or more of the total real property within the area required to be notified by this act of the proposed rezoning of a specific property, excluding streets and public ways, and property excluded pursuant to paragraph 2 of this subsection. I'll spare you the rest of that, but essentially that's what there is an indication that it's based on percentage. It's not percentage of parcels. It is not that in the statute. It is the percentage of the total real property, and that's the way that it's been calculated by planning staff and what Scott Wadle presented to you. Also, I did want to note that there was some question about, I believe that part of the question may have also been if the applicant only rezoned a portion of their property. There is a Kansas Attorney General's opinion on that that says that that property does, if it's not subject to the rezoning, it can count in the calculation. So there is some guidance given to county commissions, city councils, planning commissions when considering this, that would not count. I'm not sure that that's the case here. I'm not looking at the map familiar enough if that's actually an issue here, but I would tell you that customarily when that's factored in, if it's not part of the application area, and even if it is owned by the same applicant, it's not supposed to be part of the denominator in that 20% calculation. In terms of anything else, I would note that, and I think Scott did a good job of explaining who all gets included in the protest area. The statute delineates between if you live in the city limits and if you live in an unincorporated area. The very short synopsis on that would be that if you live within city limits, you get notice on rezonings within 200 feet of your property. If you live within the unincorporated area, you get notice within 1,000 feet if you're a surrounding property owner. That explains why the protest area and map looks how it does. Be happy to answer any other questions you or other commissioners might have.
Okay. Any other questions or additional clarification? Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak on this? If not, I'd like to give the opportunity to the applicant. Would you like to do a rebuttal, please? Scott, go ahead first.
Sir, thank you for letting me speak, but I wanted to point out, JR caught me after my presentation earlier and pointed out a couple of things. Number one, there had been a question about whether or not halfway houses would be allowed. There's actually a nuance here in terms of residential uses. If you look at the text for the PUD, it limits it only the residential uses to single family, two family, or multifamily uses. So it would not allow that halfway house option. Then the other thing too is that we had talked a little bit briefly briefly about the industrial uses. The PUD language, wasn't drawn out specifically, but it was important to note, JR caught that the commercial uses permitted in LC is what is allowed, and we went through that. But it only allows the residential uses that I just identified, those 3 or 4, and commercial uses. It does not allow industrial uses. So hopefully that helps clarify things a little bit.
Okay. Next.
Kim Edgington for the record, just kind of piggybacking on what Scott mentioned. Additionally, anything that is a conditional use in LC would not be allowed. It would have to go back through the public hearing process, through an amendment process. Just want to kind of point out that the fact of the significant buffer that exists between this property and the residential property to the east is a 400-foot wide piece of property that is owned by the church. So that in itself is a significant barrier there. The owner issues that were brought up, my client was born and raised and educated here in Wichita, and he purchased this property from a family member. So this property has been in their family for decades. So they do have a very vested interest in what happens on this property. They are not an absentee owner. They are still very involved in this property and in this community. And this is part of a process of, again, just full transparency for the community to understand, what is proposed for this property. We do not have, we are not at the point of having a concept plan. We will go through the platting process. We will deal with issues such as drainage and access that will come at the point of platting, and at which time it is likely to be annexed into the city of Wichita. But my client truly has a vested interest in improving the community and bringing this property into its highest and best use.
Right. Do you know if the applicant has any reservation on making any of the allowed reductions of uses?
Absolutely not. I mean, that was what we went into this whole process with, in cooperating with staff and agreeing to everything that staff had recommended and incorporating that into the document, and he is more than happy to agree to those.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back here to the bench. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if it's okay or not. I have one question for Deborah Evans. Is it okay to ask her one question?
Sure.
Thank you. Deborah, may you come up to the podium, please? I'm trying to read the information from the minutes from the MAPC hearing. You did appear there and you spoke. Did you share the same concerns there that you did here?
I don't remember exactly what I shared. I was very emotional about it.
Okay. Because I don't see that you did. And what I'm wondering is, and I'm not going to take time to read all of the minutes here, but I'm scanning these minutes. There's a number of speakers there that spoke that...
One of them was the attorney from our HOA.
Yeah, they're not here today? They're not here today?
I thought they were going to be. I don't know why they're not.
Yeah. You mentioned drug treatment facility, a meat packing plant, halfway houses, and a couple of other things you mentioned like that. Is that the entire list of things that you have concerns about, or are there other things?
High-rise apartments, low-income housing, a ton of things that could go in there. They're trying to make it sound like it's going to be something good for the community, and it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be.
All right.
And right now, which I did share with the MAP people, was that right now in that church property, my kids go out there, my grandkids go out there and play. Depending on what they put out there, we may have to put up big fences And like I said there, with razor wire, electrified.
All right, that's all my questions for you. Thank you. That's all my questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for Scott.
Yes, sir.
What type of screening requirements are required for different types of uses? If there's a commercial business that goes in, is there a type of screening that's required between the property and the residential properties next door?
It depends. Most commonly what we see is the screening requirement that would be a 6 to 8 foot high obstruction. Typically that's done as wooden fence. Sometimes it's landscaping can be permissible. But I say it depends because if a property's in a community unit plan, a CUP, often we start out with a discussion about that being a masonry wall. And most of the CUPs, I would say, in Wichita do have that requirement for a masonry wall.
Okay, is that something that could be added to this to clarify that?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay.
I have one more thing. If that's all right.
Chairman, you're the chairman.
There was a mention of that LC on the northeast corner.
Do you mind coming up to, because the public can't hear for those tuning online?
That LC that was mentioned that's on the northeast corner of 143rd and Harry, the people in that neighborhood, in that HOA, were so upset about that the HOA bought that property and it's not going to be used for any kind of commercial stuff.
Right.
And we can't afford to buy that big property of 26 acres for whatever they're going to be wanting for it, or we would.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Howell? I'm sorry. Yes.
Wants to speak.
To Commissioner Howell's comment, we would be more than willing to accept a condition that if there is development that is non-residential in nature, that when adjacent to residential development, that we would construct a masonry wall.
Okay. And Kim, since you're there, and I don't, if you don't want to answer the question, please just say I'm not going to answer that. That's fine. One of the concerns that seems to be, even by the one opponent today that spoke, and I'm just going to reflect on some of the other meetings that happened, not because I didn't initiate any meeting, let's be clear. They showed up, they called me, I have public coffees that I host, and at least two of these folks showed up and wanted to ask me questions, which I did answer their questions. If I was going to summarize their concern, which is not weighing heavily on me today, but they're wondering about the definition of what's planning to go in there. And again, as is presented to us today, there's a wide open field of what potentially could go in there. So I'm wondering, is there any way to hone in on maybe some things that are likely to happen here, or things that are not going to happen?
Well, all of the things that we've restricted clearly are not going to happen. We anticipate more than likely that there's going to be a significant residential component to this development, especially on the southern portion of the property. I don't know if we could show the aerial photograph. Might be helpful to look at. Because there is already some existing ponds on the property, and so there you can see with that little swale through there, that area is going to remain and serve the purpose of on-site retention, detention for the property, and more than likely that area would be more residential in character, with the commercial concentrated along the arterial. You have the intersection of two very major arterials here, so having commercial along those arterials makes sense, and concentrated at the corner as well. So there could be the issue that there isn't even any screening or masonry walls necessary, because you would simply have other residential adjacent to the existing residential. So does that answer?
Yeah, I think the only residential there is a single house, which I guess I would presume that the developer probably would replace that with something different anyway.
The church is zoned residential, though.
Okay.
But I think we would like to make the clarification there of a residential use requiring a screening wall that we would agree to.
Okay. I was reading Scott May said something earlier. I don't quite make sure I understand about whether you or Scott could probably answer this. He said something about industrial uses are already prohibited.
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay. And I'm looking at the list here. That's a number of things.
That is in the language of the CUP, that none of the proposed allowed uses are industrial uses.
Okay. And there's some of these done by conditional use. They're still potentially allowed, but they'd have to go through the conditional use.
Right. We would have us or anyone in the future would have to go through this process once again through the public hearing process.
And I read this fairly quickly, and I guess I'm wondering the list of prohibited uses on the land, were those proposed by the applicant? We
did propose those, and we added a couple just in cooperation with staff as well.
So just going to throw out there some items that, or some types of uses that I think potentially would still go in there. Animal care, for example, a kennel or a...
That does not include a kennel. That's a different category. That's kennel, boarding, breeding facility. Animal care is simply a veterinarian's office.
Very good. Car wash.
Car wash would, if it's close enough to residential, would require conditional use.
Okay. That's okay. Things like car dealerships or a large retail outlet like a Dillon's or...
Retail would be allowed, yes. Vehicle sales is not allowed.
Okay.
Yeah. Without it would require an amendment.
And we already talked about the asphalt plant limited, and I think the rock crushing would also be a conditional use.
Right.
Service stations, convenience stores, those things
are allowed. Yes.
Yeah. A nightclub, pawn shop, RV campground. Those things, it sounds like those would be allowed according to the list here.
Well, nightclub is going to also have a limitation on the distancing from residential as well. So.
All right. And again, I'm not saying that any of those things would happen, but I guess I'm just wondering if, to put people at ease, if those things were restricted in this list, if there's no intent for those things to happen.
They already are, because they are only allowed by virtue of conditional use, so they are not allowed by right.
Okay. Well, the hotel would be allowed?
Yes.
Okay. Of course, we still have the same problem of the city services would still have to be an issue. So
right.
A hotel wouldn't happen without some type of annexation and city services being provided. The pawn shop, that would be allowed by right.
Yes.
Convenience store would be allowed by right. So Quick Trip or something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I think that's all my questions for you. Thank you, Kim. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know how to go forward. I'm surprised at the amount of people that reached out to me before today's meeting, and I told them, I said, I'm not going to take your information and do anything with it until you show up at that public hearing. If you want to say something, that's when you need to be heard. You need to show up at the public hearing. That's today. We had Deborah Evans. Thank you for coming. But that's it. And that surprises me because I had a lot of people reach out to me since the beginning of this. This thing started, I think, a couple of months ago. And I would, if I was going to guess, I'd probably say I had at least maybe 20 different people call me on the phone, show up at my coffees, come to make appointments in my office and come by and want to talk with me for a minute. That's a pretty good response. Most property rights cases don't get that much interest that early on. And so, again, I knew this was going to be a difficult case, but I did tell him consistently that, look, I'm not here to develop an opinion today. I'm here simply just to hear you. You can ask me questions, but I'm not going to give you any opinion. I'm simply going to tell you how the process works, about the golden factors. May I ask Justin Wagner, these golden factors, can you please describe what that is one more time, please?
Certainly be happy to do so, Commissioner Howell. The golden factors stem from a case, a Kansas Supreme Court case dealing with a zoning matter. And with all zoning cases, whether it's Board of County Commissioners or City Council, what you're doing is you're reviewing a recommendation made by the Planning Commission, and you're making a determination on the reasonableness of the proposed use for the area where it's proposed. And there's a number of factors that the Kansas Supreme Court has instructed that should be considered. They're not the exclusive factors, but they're factors that should be considered when planning commissions, city councils, county commissions consider a zoning case. And so those are routine matters that whether it's your Metropolitan Area Planning Commission or you as a Board of County Commissioners on zoning cases should take into account consistent with Kansas case law. There's been a lot of cases since the Golden case that have relied on those factors as well. I did want to make a quick comment that Commissioner Howell, and I know that you'd noted about the people who were present or not. I did want to clarify that, and I think you've reviewed the record as you indicated, but there are public comments that were made by folks at the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, which was the statutory hearing, and so assuming you and all the other commissioners are taking those into account when you're reviewing this, and there were some comments made there. I again would defer to any commissioners with comments and questions on those, but I would note I think it starts on page probably 52 in your backup materials, but just wanted to mention that, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
And for the record, I have reviewed these. I didn't memorize them, but I have reviewed them. Two more questions for Scott. Mr. Chairman, may I continue? I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
I apologize for my presumption.
The floor is yours.
When was this comp plan approved for this land use?
Oh, the comprehensive plan was done, I want to say many years ago.
Well, it started in 1985, just I know that much.
No, the more recent one I think was like even 2011, 2015.
I mean, has this ever been changed from its original presumption of, you talked about it is presumed to be commercial and potentially residential, mixed residential, so I think you said.
A little bit of background on that is that it probably has changed because over time, the city of Wichita has grown, obviously, and there have been much earlier comprehensive plans, but the most recent full revision of the comp plan was done somewhere in, I think, the 2010s. And at that point, I expect that this property was probably included because of the boundaries and where it's located with the city, Wichita city limits. In terms of whether that changed, I would assume that it probably changed at that point to identify it as a residential and new employment area. It is common, I'll tell you, it is common to have intersections designated for commercial use. And in fact, I think back in the 70s, maybe 80s, there was a time period where the county went through and zoned commercial uses at different intersections. And that's why a little bit closer maybe to the core of the city, we commonly see commercial LC, even though nothing is developed in those locations. So when was the comp plan updated? Probably I'd say about at least 10 years ago. Is it uncommon to have a designation for commercial at an intersection? No, that is not uncommon at all.
Okay, when was the MAPC hearing again for this?
For this one, the date on that was December 18th.
Okay. If we make a restriction that, in addition to what's been presented today, if I was to add a restriction successfully, would that, and the property ends up getting annexed by the city of Wichita, does that restriction carry forward?
It does, yes,
okay. Sir. All right. I think I'm ready to make a recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'll just tell you, again, I think again, my one concern I have here is the commercial nature of the properties along the arterials and then transitioning into residential. None of the other corners are like this. They have undeveloped property or residential clear to the corner, or in the northeast side, a undeveloped property that will just remain that way. I do think that the applicant has every right to do what he's asking for today, and I think he unless there's data been presented today to restrict that, I don't know what basis, looking at the golden factors, that we would be able to deny that entirely. But I have one concern specifically, and that is some of the uses of the commercial nature along that. And if it was a pawn shop, or if it was a car dealership, or if it was a convenience store, something like that, I would want to see that solid wall erected between the commercial property and the residential property. So I would like to see us consider an amendment to this that would require a solid constructed wall, at least 8 feet in height, that would be separate any commercial use of this property to any residential use of this property. I don't know how to word that differently or better, but I would like us to consider that as a restriction.
And yes, thank you, Justin Widener, County Councilor. Commissioner Howell, was, just to be clear, is that just for discussion for the other commissioners at this point, or was that?
I'm not making a motion yet. I'm just presenting this as an idea and see what comments we might have.
And I think it could also be useful if you would want to get any feedback from planning staff, if Scott would have anything he would want to offer on that, or JR, but as well, if that would be useful.
So maybe I didn't word that correctly, but I think a solid wall separating commercial. Again, this is everything to the south and to the east of the intersection. Nothing facing the north or facing the west or the northwest. Those are arterial streets that separates this property from those other areas anyway. But for any residential that should be built on the property going to the south or to the east, I'd like to see a solid wall constructed between the commercial portion of this property and the residential portion of this property. I would ask for Kim and or Scott or JR to comment before I make a motion.
So if we could ask for just 1 minute, we have some standard language that is commonly included in the CUPs regarding walls. We're going to look that up, and then we can repeat that to you, and if that fits the bill, that could provide a good template.
Very good.
Commissioner Meissner?
Yeah, while you're looking that up, Ms. Kim, is an 8-foot mason wall acceptable with the applicant?
We would be agreeable to that, as long as we can just craft the language that states that it would only be required if and when there is commercial use immediately abutting residential use.
Thank you.
So.
Okay. Thanks to JR's help, we were able to locate that. So it is under the development standards for the community unit plan district in the Unified Zoning Code. So just in case anyone's looking for it, it's Article 3. And what it says is a solid screening wall with a height between 6 and 8 feet shall be required to prevent the passage of debris and light and mitigate adverse visual impacts. The wall shall be constructed of brick, stone, masonry, architectural tile, or other similar material, not including wood or woven wire. So those are explicitly prohibited. Screening walls shall be installed in accordance with the following standard. A screening wall shall be required along the property line when a residential district is contiguous to the proposed development. The wall shall be reduced to 3 feet in height for a portion that lies between the side front. It talks about setbacks and some caveats here. The thing that I would point out is that it says when it's adjacent to when a residential district is contiguous. The discussion so far has been to a residential use. So that's an important distinction. But in terms of the 6 to 8 feet in height and identifying what materials it can be developed out of, since that's already a standard, I think it could provide a good option as a template.
guess I need a little help. Again, the range of 6 to 8, if I was the applicant, I would certainly want to settle on 6 versus 8. I don't know if that matters, but I can tell you I've been in residential areas where it's 6 and kids jump over the wall. If it's 8, they don't. It seems like it would be more of a barrier. People aren't going to go up and over if it's 8. I think that makes a difference. So, in terms of privacy and screening to residential properties, if there's a large commercial business there, let's just say the Dillons was to go in, I think that 8 foot would be something definitely needed. And I don't know how else to advocate for that at a future date, if not today.
How about the following language then? A solid screening wall with a height of 8 feet shall be required. The wall shall be constructed of brick, stone, or masonry, architectural tile or other similar material, and not including wood or woven wire. And it shall be required along the property line when a residential use is contiguous to the proposed development and a non-residential use is in the proposed development. So it makes the distinction that it's got to be a residential use, not a residential zoning on the adjacent property. It also clarifies that if this subject site is developed with residential use, then it's not required. It's only if a commercial use is developed on this property.
Mr. Counselor, do you get that?
I probably got about 80% of it. I didn't get. There was a part or two I missed there. I can, if you'd like, I could briefly talk with Scott about that and maybe try to craft that into language. Is that what you're looking for, Commissioner Howell?
I think clarification for our minutes would be, say, to include the language read by Scott and verified by Justin Wagner, our Chief Counsel. But that would be the language I would want to adopt, and so I would make a motion that, let me go back to the beginning of this. I'll just say this, had other people shown up and talked about other restrictions, I might have been interested in having other restrictions, but they didn't happen. So I'm going to say I think all of the concerns of Deborah Evans have been largely answered today with the explanation about what restrictions exist on the property. And with this addition of this wall, I think the privacy for any residential properties which don't currently exist but will happen in the future most likely, we're taking care of them today. And I think that's important. So I would make a motion that we take option number 2 here. It says approve the zone change with modified conditions to the PUD. And I'm going to add the language.
Does that count the church property too? Is that counted as residential?
No.
So there'll be no fence between them and me.
Okay.
That is correct, and that would be the distinction. If you want to have the wall in between the church and this property, then it would be based on residential zoning district. If you want to limit it to only residential uses on other properties, then it would not include the church property.
Okay, if I do want to include the church property, how would I change my motion?
You would simply insert residential districts as opposed to residential uses.
Okay. That is where I'm trying to go here. So that would be my motion, that I would approve the zone change with modified conditions to the PUD. And I would like to have a solid wall requirement as described by Scott Wadle, our planning director, and verified by Justin Wagner for residential zoning on this property that would separate those areas from any commercial uses on the property. And that would be that would also be overriding the recommendations of MAPC to approve the zone change, but with the following modification as I just described. Is that a sufficient motion today?
Justin Wagner, County Councilor. Commissioner Howell, I'll do my best to try to synopsize a couple different points here. I know in handling this case, the Planning Commission came up with findings. It appears, based on what you've indicated, you have, based on additional input you may have received. I know you mentioned some comments from the speaker today as well, and some of the concerns in terms of impact on, it sounds like, residential surrounding properties. It appears that you're adding additional conditions to the PUD. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
So I think you have indicated why you're doing that. For the sake of clarity, just so that I'm clear, I believe your motion is to override the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Is that correct, Commissioner Howell, in this case?
And in order to make this change to the PUD, don't I need to do that?
That's correct, because they made a recommendation with the PUD, I think, more or less as presented.
And once again, I do want to say thank you for Deborah Evans for coming up. Regardless of what happened before today, she's articulated the same concern I've heard prior. So again, with just her as a sole person that's testified today specifically, I understand her perspective, and this is a change that is related to her testimony today.
Okay. And Commissioner Howell, I'll do my best to read what I think your motion is, and it would be good if you give an indication if that captures your intent. It would be that you're moving to override the recommendation of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, approve the zone change, but with the following modifications to the PUD. In this case, PUD number 154, to the extent that you would have a commercial use that on the subject property that would directly adjoin a residential zoning district property, and this would be specifically to the south and to the east is what I understand. You're not including it when it's a roadway. Then there would be a requirement that there would be a solid screening wall of 8 feet in height. I will defer to Scott Wadel's prior comments, because that's what the part that I missed was exactly what he said on all of that. It might be good when I'm done talking here if he would get up and reiterate that part I'm missing about the 8 feet height and anything else, and that would be the requirement, the modification you're making. Here I would hand it over to Scott if he wants to make comments.
And I agree completely with what you just said, and I would ask, I guess, Scott to rephrase or restate the type of construction that would be allowed for this solid barrier.
Okay, just one moment as I collect my thoughts here. Okay, what I've got is that a solid screening wall with a height of 8 feet will be required. The wall shall be required along the property line when non-residential uses are on the subject site and adjacent to residential uses that are off of the subject site. Now, JR also pointed out that it's important to include that the wall shall be reduced to a height of 3 feet for any portion that lies within the side or front setbacks. And the reason why is for the visual approach to a roadway.
That's fine.
Oh, sorry, residential district. Thank you all. Okay.
I understand what that means, and I do agree with that. Thank you. Mr. Council, go ahead.
And Commissioner Howell, one other thing. I think as part of your motion, would I be correct to understand that you're also asking for the county councilor's office to create a correlating resolution, and that the board would have the authority to sign that resolution upon adoption if the motion would pass?
So stated. That's my motion. So my motion, I know it's been convoluted, but I believe we have all the right data out there. Does anybody have a question regarding the motion?
Yes. I do. And if it, Chairman, if it's okay with you, the applicant agent, we've done a lot here, and I just want to make sure you guys fully understand, and if you have any, if you're welcome to probably come up, I
think there's one kind of FYI, other people aren't here because they thought their petitions mattered.
Hey, ma'am, the public comments over unless one of the commissioners wants to address
I don't matter. One item I think that deserves clarifying is this area, and it's approximately 500 feet in length. I don't know. Is there a pointer? I don't.
which is this portion of the property line. Because based on the wording that you have included, that would require us to additionally construct that wall all the way along here. So I don't know if there's a way we can make a clarification that in the area in which the church is already developed, that wall may not be required. I mean, if we're looking at an 8-foot masonry wall, that's almost $250 a running foot, and if we're looking at 600 feet of wall construction, I mean, that's a significant expense. Where are we really accomplishing anything? I mean, we don't have any problem with where, once you get to the point where there's a sight line from the residences to the east, constructing that wall starting at that point. I'm just not sure how we include that clarification language so that masonry wall isn't required along this entire east property line. We're certainly not opposed to doing it in the other areas where there could potentially be commercial adjacent to that residentially zoned property.
Yeah, thank you. I was asking for clarification on that earlier, what we're specifically talking about. We're talking about the whole property. We're just talking about the only area that will be zoned as commercial, correct?
Right.
If I may, we'll go to the zoning map real quick. I can get the PowerPoint. Here we go. So on the zoning map, here's the subject site. This is SF5 zoning. This is SF20 zoning. So if we're talking about putting the wall along where it's adjacent to residential zoning, it would actually be all of the east property line and all of the south property line. And now, if it's based on residential uses would be the south property line and not on the east because of the church use to the east. So if it's based on zoning, it's both the east and the south property lines. If it's based on use, it's the south property line.
Okay. Commissioner Meissner?
Well, I can defer to what Justin wants to add, but I think that's a very excessive requirement to do the whole east side and the whole south side wall.
And Chairman Justin Widener, County Councilor, I would just add that if the will would be not to include that, like say, for example, in line with what Commissioner Meissner just indicated, I think you could say, like Scott was saying, current residential uses. I would suggest that clarification so that it's not vague or ambiguous in the future. As if it would be a residential use, you could make it as to today at this current time because it's not currently being utilized as residential property.
Mr. Chairman, just to throw this out there again, if they build residential in there, that wall would not be required because you're going from the church property to other residential property on the site. So that wall would not be triggered in that case. It's only if they put in commercial. Am I right about that?
Yeah, correct. Yes, sir.
And as bad as that sounds, she mentioned 600 feet times $250 a foot. That comes up to $150,000 wall potentially. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but in light of the value of this land and considering the value of the commercial property that would be developed into this property, I don't think that's too much to ask. I think this protects the people and the church, protects their neighbors. And so I don't know that I would disagree that I think our wording is correct, actually. So.
Chairman, if I may, I apologize. I should have mentioned this earlier, that the motion that's been made by Commissioner Howell on this, and I think we're still waiting on a second. Am I right on that, Madam Clerk? Okay, she said yes. In order to carry, it would require 4 votes from the board, but happy to stand for any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Meissner?
Can I just clarify? So the motion being made is a wall all the way encompassing the whole property?
That is correct, Commissioner Meissner. Okay. It would be the entire, as I understand it, the entire south and east sides of the property. It would not require it on the north and west sides because there's roadways there. based on the current motion. Obviously, you could have a substitute motion or an alternative.
Yeah, I don't think I can support that. That's
We have a
that's a lot
motion.
of government. That's government overkill, in my opinion.
Do we have a motion? Do we have we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay. If not, the motion dies lack of a second. Anyone like to make another motion?
Well, I think that the heart of what's trying to be accomplished here is to separate any commercial use from residential setbacks. Could someone help us construct some language and a motion that accomplishes that? That's where my heart is. I understand when we're putting these PUDs, sometimes we can get over-regulatory to where it's cost prohibitive. But we also want to protect the other uses and residential uses in particular. I understand the heart of what Commissioner Howe is trying to accomplish, but I think the targeted piece of this is we want to be able to create some sort of barrier between a commercial use and the residential neighborhood. Is there a way that we can limit that? Is there language that we can limit that to where, and I think the applicant agents has already said that this is something that we would be open to, and so if the applicant agent is open to that, they have property rights, they want to develop the land. We have an interest in making sure that the residential has a barrier from a commercial use, which is parallel to our comprehensive plan and things that we talk about frequently here from the bench. So can we construct some language that does that without overcomplicating this?
Commissioner Beatty, a good question. I think you might have a couple different options to accommodate what you're asking for. One option would be you could defer this perhaps a week, and you could have county counselor's office and planning staff put together recommended motion language or something that may address that. You could even, if there would be a will to do so, you could recess this item. I know we've done that before. We come back with motion language. I believe our office could work with planning staff to come up with that if you would want to try to do that, and then we could take this up after some of your other agenda items. I would defer to the will of the board on that.
I would be okay if my colleagues, I don't know, would that be a motion to do that?
I believe you could have a motion. Which one?
I don't think that it's necessary to defer back to Planning Commission and give us a week. Yep. If we can get a little bit of 15, 20 minutes to craft some language that would that be just deferring this item till later in the agenda, pausing the item? What is that?
I think the chairman generally would have discretion to say that we're going to recess this item, finish this item subsequently in the agenda, have the item closed, and then read it back out when the chairman would be ready. If that's the will of the chairman, that's kind of usually a chairman.
So I think my formal request to the chairman would be that we recess this item, which is item K under new business, until after the consent agenda of the county commission meeting. That should give our planning staff and legal counsel enough time to craft some language to make a recommendation to the commission.
Okay. And I'll second that motion. I would like to ask that whenever we come back, I'd like to know the linear foot that we're talking about on the south and east side so that we have a good understanding as to how many feet of an 8-foot wall we're specifically talking about. Do I have a motion and a second? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiss.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item L, Sedgwick County Zoo update.
Morning, Scott.
Morning, Commission. Scott Newland, Sedgwick County Zoo. I'm actually happy to provide a little intermission for you. I've got maybe 10, 15 minutes to talk to you about just some updates that we have out here at the zoo. As we started looking at 26 and kind of reviewing 2025 and how the year went for us, we realized that we had a lot of news that we wanted to share both with the Commission and the public, and that's what I'm here to do today. So First of all, we had an amazing year with attendance at the zoo. As you can see here, we had over 702,000 visitors to Sedgwick County Zoo in 2025. That is our second largest year of attendance ever on record. And we were just so excited to be able to end the year strong. As you can imagine, weather is our friend with attendance, and the really nice weather we had in December really pulled us through to the end of the year. As you can see on my graphic here, the breakdown of that is we have just under 600,000 people that we count in our daytime attendance. I'd like to point out that of that daytime attendance, 11,000 of that number is students that come out and use our formal education programs. So that is a significant number of kids that are coming out and participating with various classes at the zoo, and we just love that that number keeps growing every year. You'll also notice that our evening attendance is making up a significant percentage of our annual attendance. So our Wild Lights event that we continue to run in the fall, we had our second strongest year with Wild Lights at just under 90,000 people for that. And Zubilee, as we report to you annually, was strong again this year. And you can see we had just under 5,800 people there for that evening, which is a wonderful night to have as long as, again, the weather is comfortable. I also want to point out a lot of the community access programs that we have at the zoo currently. While our attendance is so important to our operation, it's also very important for us that we're meeting the needs of our greater community and that everybody has the ability to come out to the zoo. So you can see with our programs that we had in 2025, Sunflower Summer was our largest kind of accessibility program, and we had nearly 28,000 people that use that program. You can see my breakdown here. Primarily school-age kids that came out to see the zoo during the Sunflower Summer program. It is our understanding that during the legislative session that the funding for Sunflower Summer has made it through a couple of the first initial hurdles, and so we look forward to having that program available again in 2026. Our Zoo for All program, which is kind of our name for the nationwide Museums for All program. That is a program that allows us to provide a cheaper price point for people that want to come out to the zoo. And you can see there we almost had 16,000 people use our Zoo for All program. And then two of our big annual events that we do, our annual programs, I should say, are Twilight Tuesdays and our Winter Wednesdays. These are our reduced price $5 admission days, and we had 18,000 people utilize those programs this year. And both of those programs are programs that we have community partners sponsor and kind of offset some of those costs for us. So you can see with our access programs, nearly 62,000 people utilize those programs, which is just under 9% of our total attendance. So that's really significant, and we're so happy that we have these programs to make the zoo available. Some of our biggest accomplishments, I don't even really have to tell you today because you've probably seen it all on social media, but we met some of our most important sustainability goals that we kind of set for ourselves. We did have our 4 elephant births in 2025, and we also had 1 chimpanzee birth that we're very proud of as well. These are goals that are a collective goal, not only within Sedgwick County Zoo, but a bigger part of being a member of AZA and working through the species survival programs. These are our collective goals, and we're always proud that we can help with those overall goals for AZA in making sustainable populations for zoos. On On our elephant barn expansion, we have done very well with our fundraising campaign. Our $10 million goal is in sight. We don't have much left to raise. We're kind of in the final throes of our fundraising. Construction is on schedule and doing very well. We've benefited a lot from the favorable weather. We partnered with Hutton to construct a barn, and they got a little bit ahead in December because of the wonderful conditions. And if you have driven by the zoo in the last couple days, we actually have put in some more of the significant trusses on the construction site. I've got a few photos here to share with you that are from a couple weeks ago, but massive progress is happening. It is a huge building. It's a little bit bigger than the original elephant barn, so when you drive by, you will definitely not miss it as you're on Zoo Boulevard or Windmill Road. We are planning for a May opening. As we get closer to that, we'll get some finalized details, whether it's going to be around Mother's Day or Memorial Day. We're still kind of determining that, but we're very excited to get this open and get everybody have access to come out and just have more space for these elephant calves as they grow up. My biggest accomplishment, not myself, but the zoo as a whole for 2025 was, as I reported to you before, we did receive our AZA accreditation again for the next 5 years. This was a massive undertaking at the zoo. Our report was very good. We do have a few things that we're going to work on, and I will probably talk to you as a board more at the budget retreat on some of those things. But this is actually not an accomplishment of Scott Newland. This is an accomplishment of all the hardworking employees at Sedgwick County Zoo, and we just want to say thank you to all of them. Without their hard work, accreditation really wouldn't happen. So we're just excited that for the next at least 4.5 years, we don't have to worry about this, but as you can see, our next inspection will be in the spring of 2030. Here are just a couple pictures of the progress on the elephant barn. You can see the columns going up that form the northern wall of the complex. Reference point, those columns are about 35 feet tall. So this is a significantly tall building that will just provide us so much more space and workable space for our elephant herd. One feature I'd like to point out in the top upper right here, this is a photo of one of the 2 enrichment walls that we have designed into the building. Those little ports there that you can see, you are looking at the side that the elephants will have access to. So if I'm an elephant, I can reach my trunk through those ports, and allows the keepers to hang all types of enrichment items, treats, enrichment devices. We can actually use this in some training as well, and that just gives the elephants all types of different ways to interact with our staff and ways that we can mentally stimulate them and just provide better care for the elephants in general. So as you can see, construction is moving right along. With every organization here at the county, while we do have successes, we did have some challenges in 2025. I just want to hit on 3 of them real quickly for you. We did have last winter, nearly a year ago to today, we had a really bad winter storm, if you remember, and we had 2 of our acrylic panels at the Cessna Penguin Cove fail in that very, very cold weather. That failure prevented us from keeping the penguins on exhibit. Structurally, we were concerned that those panels were not safe and may not hold water for the rest of the season. So we unfortunately needed to close Cessna Penguin Cove until we could figure out the proper repair. We're happy that we got that repair completed in 25. We reopened Christmas Day, but as you can see, that was nearly a $400,000 unbudgeted expense that we had not planned for. Likewise, right after the Christmas holiday, we had a city line break that was actually caused by wind damage, if you can connect those two dots. We had a really large cottonwood tree right near our vet hospital that was catching a lot of wind in that windstorm, and the motion of the tree rocked the city water line directly underneath of it and ruptured the line, and we had to quickly get the tree down, get the city water line shut off, and repair that break. The last significant thing that happened at the zoo in 25, which also happened to a lot of our residents on the west side of town, is we did have that really large hailstorm that came through. We have been working with Elizabeth Wingo, with risk management, and the various roofing companies and insurance companies as we process all of those claims. But I can tell you we've had 70 plus of our roof systems that have been compromised out at the zoo as a result of that storm. So we will continue to work through those issues to get those repairs. I think the big one, the most significant to note, is we will probably, unfortunately, have to replace the roof on the Tropics building yet again due to the hail damage. So we are working on some alternatives with risk management moving forward on that as well. But still, with these small setbacks, we're very happy of the year that we had, very proud of the work that we've done, and really just wanted to share that with all of you. You can see here real quick, if you do the math here, we've got nearly $500,000 in unbudgeted repairs, and that doesn't even include an additional $252,000 in smaller projects that popped up throughout the year. So this is not new to the County Commission. This is something that we hope to work with you on in the future as we work through our budget to figure out how best we can plan for some of these infrastructure repairs that we need to make. Looking forward for the rest of this year, we do have some exciting news for you guys today. Stingray Cove, which is closed right now for the winter season, will reopen on spring break. I do just want to let the commission know this is, and always was, planned to be potentially a temporary exhibit. This is a contract that we have with an outside company called Living Exhibits, and that contract does expire at the end of this season. So by October 26th, we'll have made some decision on whether the zoo will retain stingrays or where we're going to move maybe on from them and do something different. We do have a couple big births to announce publicly. We are expecting a new gorilla baby to be born this summer. This is very exciting for us. You know, we've had a couple gorilla offspring in the past, but it's been nearly 10 years, if you can believe that, since our last two gorillas were born at Sedgwick County Zoo. And we also have another chimp due in the fall, which, if that pregnancy is successful, will obviously give us 3 young chimps, which is really significant because those 3 can grow up together and learn as kind of a little cohort, and that's really important for their development. We also not new exhibits, but some new animals that are going to be on display this year. We do have a new female rhino coming in for our male KJ, which we're very excited about. She will be coming to us in the spring. We are going to utilize an older exhibit that used to feature our caracal cats. Our last caracal cat passed away in 2025, and we have decided not to work with that species moving forward. Instead, we're going to use that species or that space right now to exhibit the lemurs that we have at Sedgwick County Zoo. For those of you that were longtime zoo goers, you may remember that we used to have lemurs out on one of our primate islands that is now where the current elephant exhibit is. We have never gotten rid of those animals. We have been caring for them off exhibit and are excited to bring them back on display this summer for the public. And the last bit of exciting news is we have a recommendation to get a new young male tiger to come in and potentially breed with our current female. So that is very exciting. It's been a few years since we've had any new big cats come to Sedgwick County Zoo, so the staff is really excited about that. But yeah, in summary, I just wanted to come down and share kind of the good news that we've had over the year, and want to make sure that we do this more, and that you as a commission and the public in general are informed about what's going on out at the zoo. So I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Beatty?
Scott, thank you for the presentation. Congratulations to another really big year at Sedgwick County Zoo. As a lot of people know, that our zoo is the largest outdoor attraction in the state of Kansas. So it is a tourist attraction. You do you host a lot of events. You host a lot of families. We're incredibly proud of our zoo. Two thoughts quickly. I always like the opportunity to educate the public about the relationship between the county and the Sedgwick County Zoo. I think it's a very unique partnership that a lot of people don't know. The genesis of it was actually through a ballot initiative. It was a vote where the voters of Sedgwick County in the late 60s, early 70s said that we want to establish a county-funded zoo or a county-ran zoo. So this was not a genesis of a county commission. This was a genesis of the public who said, we want a zoo.
Yes.
And the commitment between Sedgwick County and the Zoological Society, which is the partner, the private partnership there, has always been that if we're going to have a zoo here and it's voter mandated, that we want to have a great zoo.
That's correct.
And we do have a great zoo, a nationally renowned zoo. So I just want to say thank you for the success that you're having, the stewardship. You've been at the zoo how many years total as director, but then previously as an employee and a volunteer?
I'm starting my 4th year as director, but I have been with the county for 26 years.
26 years. So you've seen a lot.
Yes.
And you are very responsible for this great stewardship that we're all proud of. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for recent conversations that we've been having and the vision that you guys are leading with at the Sedgwick County Zoo. Some of the conversations I've been a part of, along with Commissioner Wise, is not just the zoo and where you're at today and how you steward what you have today, but the master plan that you guys have worked on and thought through, but also the collaboration between Sedgwick County Park and the ball fields, the Extension Center, that entire section of land over there. I just want to publicly thank you because you guys are leading in those conversations of, hey, how do we collaborate together and find synergy so that the zoo is driving more than just attendance at the Sedgwick County Zoo, but attendance at the park, the ball fields, and everything happening over there. I'm really excited about some of those conversations, some of those plans. I just want to publicly thank you, and your leadership is quite profound, not just what's happening at the zoo, but everything that's happening over there in that corridor. So, Scott, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for those comments. I am excited that on Friday, as we talk about budget, I will be presenting some of those ideas for the master plan and how that can kind of move that kind of tourism on the west side corridor there with not only the zoo, but the county park and all that property there. So thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Wise?
Yeah, Commissioner Beatty, you did a great job. It's like you used to pastor or something, but you captured a lot of my same thoughts. You have great leadership, community engagement. The zoo is very much loved. I've really enjoyed serving on the zoo board for my first year as commissioner. That was something that I got to do and that I'll continue to do this year. Just learning a lot of behind the scenes, how much the society works on the private side, the county support on our side as well. So great job. We're excited for 2026 and everything that you just shared with us. You're doing a really good job, and we're really appreciative of that. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and thank you.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to say, I remember when the last gorilla baby was born, I believe. You said about 10 years ago?
I think if it's not 10, it might be 8 or 9, so we're approaching it.
Mark Reed was here then, and God rest his soul, great zoo director. You have some big shoes to fill. You've done a good job as well, but Mark Reed is famous, I guess, for his discussion about how gorilla babies are made, and it brought a lot of memories to mind, all the discussions, very uncomfortable discussions about gorilla babies. So you just brought me a whole wave of memories about Mark. We had a lot of fun laughing about some of that, but boy, he was passionate about gorilla babies. And anyway, that is good news. I want to say thank you for your leadership. I know over 700,000 visitors this year is a big deal. Last time we had over 700,000 visitors, it was the first year that the elephant exhibit was open. I believe that was in 2016. That was a big year. But we had a new exhibit that was extremely popular. And I know the popularity is continuing, so I know this is these numbers are huge and really great. And the economic impact of our community is also cannot be overstated how important this is to our community. I'm reflecting a little bit on the I believe it was 1971 vote.
1966.
66 vote. I don't know what the exact language of that vote was, but I know that was zoo opened in 71.
Correct. Yeah.
More than more than 54 years ago, 55 years ago now. It's a long time. And one thing I've brought up numerous times, I just wanted to reflect on that a little bit today, and that is I know that we are committed to financially supporting this because it is a taxpayer-funded and a voter-approved thing we should do in Sedgwick County, and so we're committed to it. I am concerned about property taxes. I'm sure you've heard that before. I just want to state up front, once again, that property taxes are under attack by everybody, it seems like. And I think that the faster we move the zoo over to sales tax, with especially a dedicated sales tax, the better it's going to be. And I would like to see support from the zoo for us to move in that direction, because I think that protects the zoo's funding stream in a way that property taxes, frankly, is going to be challenged. So I just wanted to state that once again. A dedicated sales tax, again, especially if we can lower property taxes, will be very, very important to this community to keep the zoo thriving. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Scott, thank you very much. Appreciate, while it is taxpayer funded, appreciate all the members of the Zoological Society that contribute and help us bring all the attractions. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to bring to us Friday. I have a lot of, you guys just do more and more exhibits, and I think the public's pretty excited about it. And, we're obviously, want to look at the financials and the operating expenses, but always anxious to hear what kind of vision you've got.
Excellent.
So thank you for all you're doing, Scott.
Well, thank you. I look forward to talking to you guys on Friday.
Okay. All right. I'd like to go ahead and take the recommended action to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blueball.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item M, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on February 5th, 2026.
Joe Thomas, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting of February 5th. We have 5 items for you today. Our first one is change order number 3, which is professional services for the Department of Aging and Disabilities. Recommendation is to accept the change order from New Hope Therapy Services, LLC, and that's to extend the term of the contract through the contractor's completion of the provision of professional services prepaid by the county under existing rates, terms, and conditions. Item number 2 is the opioid abatement support and evaluation services for the manager's office. This recommendation is to accept the proposal from Rulo Strategies, LLC, and that covers a contract period of 1 year with 4 one-year options to renew, and to establish contracted rates as detailed in the proposal. Item number 3 is the ARC GIS product maintenance for 2026 Division of Information Technology. Recommendation is to accept the quote from ESRI Incorporated. They're doing business as Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated, and that's in the amount of $53,970. Item number 4 is the government relations and consulting services for various departments, and that recommendation is to establish contract pricing as shown with Thorn Run Partners, LLC, effective January 1st, 2026, and will go through the end of the year, December 31st. And our final item, item number 5, is Bound Tree Medical Supplies for the Emergency Medical Services. And that recommendation is to accept the pricing from Bound Tree Medical, LLC. We're utilizing the Charles County, Maryland Medical Supplies Agreement, which is identified as RFP number 22-42. And it started contract term of July 1st, 2025, and will go through June 30th of 2029. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have and recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner Beatty?
Yeah, Joe, thank you, sir. Just a quick question. Item 2 on the opioid settlement, the abatement support and evaluation services. I just want to make clear to the public and confirm with you, there's a lot of dollars on here. None of these dollars are from the county general fund. This is 100% funded, these dollars, through the settlement that we received, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Would like to go ahead and take the action to approve the recommendations of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
The second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye.
Thank
The
you.
motion passes 4-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
Consent agenda.
Okay. Before we get into consent, I'd like to recess from the city council meeting and call to order the governing body of Fire District Number 1.
County commissions.
What did I
You
say?
said city council.
Oh, I'm sorry. County muscle memory.
You're okay. You're okay.
Recess the county commission meeting and adjourn, recess the county commission meeting and go into the governing body of Fire District Number 1. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Chairman Bluebow.
Present. Tom?
First item.
Our first item, or,
Public agenda.
and we have no one signed up on the public agenda. Next item,
Consent agenda.
consent.
Chairman, good morning. Tom Stoles, County Manager's Office, recommending approval of fire consent item A on city.
Okay. Do we have any questions on consent item number A? If not, I'd like to take a motion to approve the resolution of the body of county commissioners setting as the governing body of Fire District Number 1, adopting the new policies and procedures identified on consent item number 1, or consent item A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. And the motion passes 4-0. Next item.
Other.
We have nothing on other. Next item.
Executive session.
We don't have an executive session. I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the fire board meeting and come back to the county commission meeting. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Chairman and Commission Tom Stoles, again, County Manager's Office, recommending approval of consent items N through U on the agenda today.
Any questions on consent items N through U? If not, I'd like to go ahead and approve consent items N through U.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye. And the motion passes 4-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
Legislative issues.
Morning, Tanya.
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager. So today we are on day 31 of the legislative session, so we're about a third of the way there. A reminder that turnaround day is February 13th, and so as we read in the Watkins Public Strategy Update, this week will be dominated by committee activity, and lawmakers will move the bills this week before the deadlines, and then next week will be all-day floor debate. So for this week, we had oral and written testimony that was provided on keeping the public safe from dangerous animals bill, and then we also had the public bid bill. And then I was going to mention that we do have a bill number, House Bill 2699, and that is for our legal publications. So the bill reads, providing for official legal publications on a county website for counties with the population of 100,000 or more. We did hear, and we're still getting information as of today, we did hear from our lobbyist that Senate Bill 404, Treasurer's Bill, they're working on that. And so what they've done with that bill is they have taken out the personalized plate process. They did increase the threshold from $5 to $15 on the service fee, but we did just hear today, as a matter of fact this morning, that they are going to sunset that after 2 years. We are still trying to get the the appraiser's qualification bill yet into this session, so I have not heard anything on that yet, but I know that Watkins group are trying to get that done. So I'll just mention the bills that as we see them, I send them out to the appropriate staff just to make sure if there's anything we need to worry about. So I'll mention those bills. House Bill 2712, this is increasing the authority for a countywide retailer's sales tax and providing for the dedicated apportionment of special purpose tax revenues up to 2% and limiting special purpose city and countywide retailer's sales tax for 10 years, to 10 years. House Bill 2737, I don't know if I need to repeat that one. We talked about that extensively yesterday. Senate Bill 489, this is providing for a universal homestead exemption for ad valorem property taxation. House Bill 2701, this is permitting non-uniform zoning regulations within a zoning district. And then House Bill 2644, requiring a county appraiser to adjust the value of residential and commercial property upon final determination or obtain a fee simple appraisal if the appraised value exceeds 5% increase each year for 5 years. So again, just kind of keeping an eye on those bills. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, Commissioners, but that's all I have to report out today.
Any questions on the legislative agenda? Commissioner Meissner?
Thank you. That last one, the House Bill 2644. Tell me that one again.
Sure, I'll be glad to repeat it. So it's requiring a county appraiser to adjust the value of residential and commercial property upon final determination or obtain a fee simple appraisal if the appraised value exceeds 5% increase each year for 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
I've sent that to our appraiser as well as the finance department and asked if they can kind of take a look at that bill and report back. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Tanya, you might have said this. Apologies. I ran to the restroom real quick. The Senate bill regarding the tag office discussions that we were having. There have been a couple of amendments. Did you clarify that what amendments have been made when I stepped out?
So on that one, that is Senate Bill 404. What we've heard on that is they've taken out the personalized plate process, so that's been completely stripped. They did increase the threshold from $5 up to $15 on the service fee, but my understanding, and that this has just happened this morning, is they are going to sunset this after 2 years.
Okay. I think what's happening there, let me make 2 points on that after conversations with Senate Majority Leader's office and then the Treasurers Association. Of course, Brandy Bailey, our treasurer, has been squarely involved in all these conversations. So on the personalized plate, that's a 5-year issue, years that end in 0 and 5. And I think Kansas Department of Revenue is just asking for some space or asking for some time to be able to work on this appropriately. So I just want the public to be aware that stripping that piece out of the bill really does not hamper. There is time to work on that piece. So I think all of us would be in agreement of that. What I think is also happening in the 2-year sunset on the fees, it's my understanding that there's a broader conversation of reform and modernization that they're wanting to have. And I think that sunset is basically going to, what I'm believing is happening is the intent is to place a sunset on there that will guide them into a larger conversation about broader tag office reform. So in my opinion, I don't think that's a bad deal, because I think if they tried to force the type of reforms and modernizations that they're talking about into this cycle, I think it might be rushed. So I actually appreciate, especially members from the South Central delegation that are leading these discussions, and I think they're trying to buy a little bit more time to give relief to the local tag offices in the counties through the fee and the adjustment of the fee, while also making sure that they have time to work on the bigger reform deal. So I think both of them are in our favor, frankly. I think that there's good progress being made. I know there's a lot of conversations that are taking place, about tag office reform. So I think this is moving in the right direction, so I appreciate that update.
Commissioner Beatty, thank you for adding those additional comments to that bill.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Chairman, did you want to go back to item K at all? Even though
Yeah, I was trying to give a little bit of time to Commissioner Howell to come back.
And Chairman, I think at your discretion, if you'd want to continue with the rest of the items, you could just announce to your fellow commissioners that you intend to take that up at the tail end of the meeting, if that would be your preference.
Yep.
Committee reports.
Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Okay. Next item.
Other.
Other. Don't have anything on other. Next item.
Executive session.
Executive session. We do not have an executive session.
So here we are.
Chairman, can you give me just a minute to?
Sure.
And I'll be right back.
Give us a recess here for a couple minutes. Justin.
And Chairman, if I could, I think it might be advisable to just announce like a 5-minute recess so the full board could be back here for discussion on item K. If that would be something you would like to do.
Yep. I know Commissioner Wise got a hard stop. Can you do 5 minutes?
You can do 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. And then we're going to bring it back. I think we're ready to make a motion after the 5 minutes.
Okay.
Just I'm not going to.
All right, we're coming back from our recess.
Yeah.
We're ready to come back from our recess. So, okay, Madam Clerk. We're
Item
on
K.
Item K. Commissioners, are we ready? Anyone ready to make a motion or have got more questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Mr. Chairman, yeah. Based on all of the confusion about the wall, I think, Scott, in the regular planning commission requirements, isn't on this kind of zoning case, isn't a screening part of the, if there was no wall, it still requires screening, and then they can determine at any time if they want to put a wall up or not?
It depends. Yes, typically if it's a non-residential property or maybe even a property that's developed as multifamily, there would be screening that would be required where it abuts single family or duplexes. And typically that's done in the way of 6 to 8 foot high wooden fence. Sometimes we see that done as landscaping if there's enough vegetation to qualify. Now, if a commercial property, though, gets to 6 acres or more in size, then a CUP is required, and a standard condition of a CUP is that a masonry wall be placed on the perimeter of that. Okay. Now, there are some conditions in terms of when that's required, but those are typically what we see.
Okay. With that, before the motion is made, does the applicant want to comment before we make motions? Or Scott, are you supposed to be addressing us on something anyway?
Well, sir, we had staff had a really good discussion outside. We did not finalize this in a form that we could take it to the applicant and get their impression on it. So I want to let you know that. But what we were able to develop is, first off, we got the sense that there was an intent or a desire to require an 8-foot masonry wall along the property line where this PUD abuts residential uses that are outside the PUD. So we got the sense that you didn't want to require necessarily a masonry wall on the east side, but that you potentially were looking at a masonry wall on the south side where there's an existing home. So we've got a point to address that. The second one is that there is the potential for this PUD to be developed, part of it with commercial and part of it with residential. There could be a mix. So we got the sense that you are comfortable with the normal screening, which is typically a wood fence for those situations. So we've addressed those separately, so that screening for non-residential uses in the PUD would require an 8-foot masonry wall along the property line of the PUD when abutting residential uses outside of the PUD. That would require a wall on the south side. The next point is screening between non-residential uses and residential uses within the PUD shall be provided per the Unified Zoning Code, and we've got the certain thing that we point to in terms of the regular screening. The thing that we don't know, and I guess we need some more clarification on, is there an appetite or a desire to have a wood screening fence, or what kind of screening, if any, would you prefer to see on the east side, on the east property line? I will try and pull that up. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Excuse me. So can I ask if, because it does seem like there's some more what ifs on this type of wall, everything else. I just asked if Commissioner Howell, if it'd be all right that we just approve the, or make a motion to approve the Planning Commission's recommendation as presented. If that's all right, I'd be glad to make that motion.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for the question. I guess I don't feel comfortable with that because, again, let me just say this. You talked about if the commercial part is over 6 acres, then it triggers a a CUP, which would require solid screening at that point to separate the commercial from the residential. That's the trigger that we're leaning on. If they go something less than 6 acres, that's not going to be required.
Not a masonry wall. So typically in the CUP, we do see a condition that requires a masonry wall. It's not always in there, but typically. But at a minimum, if it's smaller than 6 acres, the typical screening that's required in the zoning code would apply, which typically results in a 6 to 8 foot high wooden fence.
Right, and that's what I'm not pleased with. That to me is the concern. So again, I think, along this church property and then any residential that's built further to the south of the property, I think it should be screened from the commercial portion of the property. So again, if they put residential throughout that whole area, that's not going to trigger anything. But I guess my previous motion, I think, would have taken care of this in a way. And I know people say it's a lot of money. I get that, but we're talking, if this is developed into residential areas, we're talking about many, many, many dwelling units, a lot. And if it's commercial, I would assume it's something similar to maybe a Dillon's or a Walmart or Quick Trip or something, but I don't know what it would be exactly, but it could be anything like that. The amount of money invested in this property is quite high. I think to put a solid wall between whatever is built there and these residential areas is reasonable. So I don't know that I'm happy with a 6 foot wooden fence.
I think she wants an applicant.
Yep, applicant.
Just for point of reference, we are perfectly comfortable with the alternative that staff put together. I think we expected within the PUD to already have to screen things from each other. I think the wording of number 1 it's not entirely one way or the other, but it's a good middle ground, and it does have the requirement for the masonry wall if there's a commercial use adjacent to a residential use, which we are more than willing to do. That would be a typical CUP requirement as well. So we are comfortable with that. Additionally, one thing to note that those homes to the east you've got the 400-foot buffer, and then the majority of those homes already have a privacy fence in their rear yard. Or they could have one. That's entirely if they don't, if the 400 feet of screening isn't sufficient. But we are comfortable with the language that staff created in their proposal.
Okay, Commissioner Metzler.
No. Yeah, so I think everybody be comfortable if we approve it and add the first bullet as a. Is that comfortable with you, Commissioner Howell? And we just move on?
Just to be clear, the area that's along that church property right there, what's the distance from the arterial road to the southwest corner of their property that's shown? The blue line kind of goes across the corner of their property. How was that distance from the arterial to that corner?
I'll tell you, I don't have that distance with me, but I did measure from. Oh, it's shown on the site plan. Okay. Let me go to that. So were you looking? You were looking for the distance. You were looking for the distance from the road right of way.
Correct.
South.
Right there.
To this property line. I can tell you that from here to right about here is 475 feet. We'd have to try and get the measurement. I don't have it with me. Their site plan shows the total distance.
So from to the corner, then it's 400 feet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't zoom in on it. I don't know. I think it's like 1,200 total. Well, unfortunately, it's to the middle, though. I think that's the challenge. I would just need more time to try and
If
get
that full length of that line is 400 feet from the arterial to the corner of the subject property, that's 400 feet. Then to that, where that purple line juts out to the right, that would be something maybe slightly more than half of that distance.
It is.
I would, yeah, I think about 650 is a good guesstimate, because this being about 475 is about 500. I think that's approximately. Yeah.
So there's two statements here. Are we considering both of these at the same time?
Yes, sir. So the first one addresses the perimeter, and because it's along the property line. The second one is if they were to develop a portion of this PUD as residential and a portion as non-residential, then it would ensure that there's screening provided within the PUD. Because you do have the possibility.
And the only place that could happen, again, residential zoning, not just use, because the church is zoned the church area is zoned residential, but it's not used as residential. Therefore, the way this is worded, it would be exempt from this first statement here.
That is correct. There would be no screening that would be provided with either of these bullet points along this east perimeter.
Well, to my colleagues, I guess go ahead and make whatever motion you like. I probably am not going to support it without some type of screening on the east side of the subject property along the church property there. I understand if you build housing down to the south of that, it would have, because of the actual use, it would require this wall in accordance with the first statement here. But to me, there's an area of the houses to the east of that church have basically direct view of this potentially commercial property, and there's nothing that will block their view. So, and again, one of the person that testified talked about their kids run over to the church and play around. They'll just keep on going and end up over there at the whatever's going to be built. So to me, there's just no barrier between the commercial use and the residential use. And again, that looking back to the golden factors, I think that there ought to be ways to protect between commercial areas and residential areas. This wall will provide not just a security barrier, but also a visual barrier. And to me, there's the physical barrier creates, in my opinion, a level of security for the neighborhood to the east. So again, I think that that's important. And again, I don't think these statements don't do that. So I'm willing to just vote no. If that's my colleagues want to go move forward, that's fine. We can end this right now. But I probably will not be supportive of it as it's currently being proposed.
Okay, Commissioner Beatty.
Thank you, Chairman. So, Justin, I want to approve the zone change with modified conditions to this PUD. Bullet 2, does that accomplish the questions that I had earlier before we broke to recess in regards to this, what we want to do in separation of the commercial and the residential pieces?
I guess I'm Commissioner, again, Justin Wagner, County Councilor. My understanding was that Bullet 1 would accomplish that, or Bullet 2, but I didn't know if I was looking to Scott if there was an indication that both of those would be required.
I think they both would be required. The first one is for a masonry wall along the property line where it abuts residential uses. So again, this would require essentially a masonry wall on the south side of the property. The second one is if they were to develop a portion of this property as residential and a portion as non-residential, then it would require essentially a wooden fence between them. The thing that we did not get to, we didn't have time to address it, was a third one, which is whether or not you wanted to have a wooden fence along the east property line of the PUD.
Okay.
And with that, Commissioner Beatty, I'm not sure, trying to understand where you were then. I apologize. I'm not sure if I'm understanding where you were then in line with what Scott said.
The direction I asked for earlier was just where this entire piece of land here, the parts that will be commercial, is there enough screening, adequate screening as a barrier between the residential and the commercial use? So I just want to make sure that the motion that we read is going to actually accomplish that. I don't want to create a border wall around the whole perimeter of the of the property. I think that's excessive. I think that's government doing too much for a property owner. But I do appreciate the need to create a barrier in screening between commercial and residential uses.
And Commissioner Beatty, and I'll look at Scott and see if he would disagree with what I'm indicating, but I think that the first bullet point kind of recognizes that to a certain degree, because it's not going to require the masonry wall, because the property that's currently a church is not a residential use. And so I think that's intended to recognize that, whereas the only kind of screening that I think would be required, as Scott indicated, was a 6-foot wooden fence. Is that correct, Scott, along that property? If the northern portion of the subject property is used for commercial purposes. Is that correct, Scott?
No, in this case, what is required would require, the first one would require an 8-foot masonry wall where it's abutting residential uses on the south side. So a masonry wall would be required on that south side. If there's a desire to not have a masonry wall at all, then that could very easily be changed to just say something to the effect of, I can come up with the language later, but something to the effect of, screening shall be provided per the Unified Zoning Code standard in a certain section. And that would establish then that along the perimeter, it would be a wooden fence instead of a masonry wall. So we've got flexibility. It's just a matter of what preference you have. If you want screening, we can have screening. If you want to have a masonry wall as a screening, we can do that. If you want to have a wooden fence as a screening, we can do that. Either of those options.
Commissioner Howell. Thank you. Just a couple points here. The wooden fence is something that may last a couple of decades when it's going to be maintained, and I think it leads to, over time, it's not really a permanent structure like a solid wall would be. A solid wall, I think, is considered basically a permanent structure. I would feel better about this. I'll just say this right now: the houses to the south don't exist. I don't know if the commercial would develop first or the housing would develop first. But again, whatever we approve today, whether if the houses are aware of the commercial zoning through this PUD is approved, I guess those houses can go in knowing that that's the risk they take, is to build a house next to a commercial area that could be who knows what. The area to the east of this is already developed. It's existing housing. I'm more concerned about the existing housing than I am about future housing. So between the wall to the south and whatever we're going to require to the east, to me, the east is a higher priority. And I think a wall is more permanent than a fence. And 8 foot's better than 6 foot. So again, I still think that a wall is my preference on the east side. But if you're going to do nothing at all, other than just maybe push out some kind of a temporary solution, at least a wooden fence on the east side would be a way to get started in the right direction to protect these property owners to the east, their existing housing. So to me, that's the starting point. Whatever you do to the south is less important to me because those houses don't exist. And they're going to build those homes with knowledge of what's going into the north of them.
Chairman, if I may.
Yep. Commissioner
Justin, did you understand Commissioner Howell's comments in regards to the second bullet point cover exactly what he detailed?
I believe so. That's my understanding. Is that I'm looking to Scott to see if that matches his understanding as well.
Well, the second bullet point says screening between non-residential uses and residential uses within this PUD. So it doesn't. It really is only about what's internal to the PUD, nothing about what's external to it. The first bullet point is one that addresses external. If the desire is to have the wooden fence, we can easily modify that one.
Okay. So back to the question. I guess if Commissioner Howell, and I'm sorry, I missed a bit of what you were saying there in terms of your concerns.
My concerns is existing housing is to the east.
Okay.
Those houses were built up. It's a neighborhood today, and now we're adding a commercial site next to them. There's a greater concern to me to the neighbors to the east than there is to existing, non-existing housing to the south. If we're going to require anything, it seems like there should be a requirement for screening to block this commercial area, potentially. Again, if it's all residential, it wouldn't trigger it. But if they're going to put commercial in there, then I would want to see some type of a barrier between the commercial part of this property and the housing to the east. And the only place to do that would be along that blue line between the artillery Harry Street to the north and moving on down to south on the property, wherever the commercial property is. So to me, that protects the housing to the east. That to me ought to be our trigger. If they want to put commercial property in, a wall along that section of commercial property to protect the, to create a security and visual barrier to the existing housing to the east is reasonable. I could almost give up the wall to the south because there's no housing there now. If someone wants to build a house there now, they know going into it, there's a commercial property to the north of us, and that's their choice. In fact, the people who market this land, they probably would do whatever they want to do to encourage the housing to go in. So to me, this is not an issue we need to get involved in. What happens to the south is less of a concern of mine. What happens to the east is a concern because it's existing housing. My earlier motion was probably, my opinion was better. The reason we squawked, I guess, is because of the cost, right? I don't know if we can change it to say that shall be maintained in perpetuity and it needs to be an 8-foot wooden fence. That might get the cost out of it, but still be a reasonable barrier, and it would be maintained in perpetuity so that when the fence breaks down in 10 years, they have a requirement. Whoever owns this property has a requirement to maintain that screening. And a wooden fence is cheaper than a block fence. And so I would be fine with doing something along that line. I think it's uglier, but that's not my problem, I suppose. The security and the visual barrier that would create, in my opinion, protect houses to the east is my point. And I think if you want to do this through a wood fence, it needs to be 8 foot tall, and it should be maintained in perpetuity by the owner of the property to the subject property.
Okay, Commissioner Beatty.
Listen, we are all over the map on this thing. I'm not comfortable with any of this anymore. I don't know the property owner, the applicant, agent. I don't know what they're comfortable with anymore. Obviously, we've expressed some interest in a barrier. I just feel like we have muddied this thing up so badly. I don't even know where the hell we are anymore on this thing, and I'm not comfortable with any of it. So what I would do is make a motion to defer this 1 week. When it comes back to the county commission, public comment is already closed. The public hearing is closed, so we will make a ruling, a decision based on the recommendations that are coming from planning staff. My hope is that planning staff would be able to visit with the applicant agent and really spend some time understanding exactly what is or isn't. I understand PUDs can get kind of complicated, very complicated. I think the public understands what we're trying to do in protections, protect property rights, but also protect a barrier between residential and commercial that's reasonable and affordable. So, Chairman, this would be your call, but I think it's reasonable to motion to defer this for 1 week. Public comment is already closed, so we won't entertain public comment again on this issue. We could just simply make a decision based on the recommendation and give them time to really help us understand what in the world we're working with right here. So,
I agree. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow?
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Meeting adjourned at 11:45.